tables, they go in the corner of the room and they start chatting. So after some time, the lady that's on her own, she basically hands in her notice in her job. She leaves the job and she says, she writes in the letter, I know that you were basically ganging up on me. You were getting up each time I went in the restaurant, you're talking behind my back, you're planning to get rid of me from my job. But really, the reality was, she found out afterwards, when they saw her walk in the restaurant, they were getting up and they were basically planning what to buy for her birthday, a birthday gift. So this is preconceptions, misconceptions. You see someone, he comes, he's got earrings, he's got tattoos, he looks like EDL, he looks like he's come out of a pub or something like that. Don't make this judgment that he's going to be someone dodgy, or we've got this little radio in our head. We've got to switch off the radio. We shouldn't categorize that person. You'll see some of the people, they look the most scruffy, they're the most intellectual, and vice versa. So this part of dawah is very important. Don't judge. Obviously, I say one thing from experience. If you do get someone that is drunk, for example, it's best not to give them dawah, because the nature of the drunk person is that he's going to cause trouble, etc. So as a little key thumb rule, somebody that looks like they've been drinking or whatever, they're drugs or something like that, or whatever bad state of mind, this person, it's not worth approaching them. Even though they may come over as friendly in the beginning, they seem very approachable, and you think this would be a good person to give dawah to, I would say avoid that sort of person. They're not really going to remember what you say anyway, because they're drunk, okay? But the rest of the population out there, you'll find, they may look strange, they may look dressed funny, whatever, but don't make the prejudgments. This will ruin your dawah, and you'll fail very rapidly in your dawah. You'll fail, because all you'll end up doing is, you'll try to pick a person that looks good and sensible, and you'll wait, and you'll let 5 people pass, and then another 5 people. And the days we're living in, we're heading towards Yawm al-Qiyamah. The people are dressing crazy and funny. You see body piercing and new crazy things. So we can't let this become an obstacle in the dawah. Now, the other type of initiation is basically where you go to the people and you try to basically do the starting point, okay? Now, we did this yesterday, and inshallah we're going to do it today. So after Dhuhr Jamaat prayer, we're going to head over towards the Westfields. At about 1:30 we're going to leave. So Dhuhr is at 12:45. Say it finishes about 1-ish roughly, you do your sunnah prayers. You can have half an hour if you want to get lunch or anything like that, because we'll be out there till Maghrib. And then at 1:30 we should aim to leave from here, head towards the Stratford station, Westfields, and we're going to set up there again, and we'll be in little groups giving out the cards, doing the dawah. I've got the cards, postcards we've got them here with us. So, initiation 2. This is where I say they don't come to the dawah table. It's where what we'll be doing today. You go out there, you've got the postcard, okay, the little blue, we've got different coloured postcards in IERA. This is basically initiation material, okay? All it does is it breaks the ice, with the non-Muslim. It basically gives you a way of stopping a person and getting into a conversation. Now, the aim isn't just to give out cards. If that was the aim, we could pay some people to go and post these cards through the doors or stand on the street corner and just give out the cards. Our aim isn't just to give out cards in mass, in bulk. The aim is, the card is like a little weapon that you've got, a tool, where basically with that card you're trying to stop the non-Muslim. So you have a line ready, okay? And it's easy, you can choose whichever one you're happy with. The one I just like to say, are you interested in the purpose of life? Okay? Are you interested in the purpose of life? And when you're handing out these cards, the brother Hajar has got one card. This is one of the cards that IERA produces. Basically, it just says, what am I doing here? Okay, and on the back, it explains a factory scenario. If you woke up in a factory one day and all the doors and windows were shut, you'd ask the people, how did I get here? I don't normally live here. What happened? How did I get here? Why am I here? What are you doing? What's going on? This is if you were one day you found yourself in a factory, which you've never been in. Then therefore, what about your whole life? How did you get on the planet Earth? Why are you on the planet Earth? What's my purpose? So it kind of is a clever way of explaining dawah. So really, these cards, you'll see people, you can hand them out at the station area to people that walk past. So you say, excuse me sir, are you interested in the purpose of life? One thing you should try not to do is don't walk next to the person. As they're walking along, don't you start walking with that person, because it's like scientific research. Basically what you find is that person will then begin to naturally walk a bit faster because they want to get away from you. They don't want to take your card, they're not interested in the dawah, they want to just walk, and then you start walking faster, and then they do. And then it becomes like a race. You're both walking faster, trying to outpace each other, and it doesn't work very well. So you don't want to walk up next to the person like this, trying to hand out the card. You can do a little bit of arm movement, or whatever, or a little bit of swaying, but you don't want to get this running race type thing where you're trying to hand and they're trying to avoid you. Just offer it. If they don't take it, alhamdulillah. What you'll find in this dawah, the practical side that we're going to do, 90% of what you're going to get results-wise is going to be rejection. So I'm trying to prepare you guys for rejection. Don't worry about that. Don't think hours are going by and I'm only handing out one card every half an hour. Don't think that this is, don't feel bad about this in the beginning. It's going to be 90% rejection. Most people will say, I don't want the card. Because out there, especially at a station, they're already getting loads of flyers. And you've got the Christians out there, and you've got other people sending out flyers and giving out things. So these people are already carrying so much material, they don't really want to know. But basically, your aim is to try to stop that person. So, are you interested in the purpose of life? And the person might say to you, well, what's this about? And you say, okay, basically, I'm talking about my religion or whatever. You can break the ice in any way which you feel comfortable with. Okay? And this is where we start. There's like a pre-stage to the go rap, okay? Which is common sense agreement. Okay? If I just put it up at the top. So you've got this common sense, and it's an agreement. And in this whole Dawah technique that I'm teaching, you're looking for agreements, basically. It's an important word, because if you get the agreement, okay, agreement is quite important, because all you're doing in this Dawah training, in this Dawah that you're going to learn, this technique, is you're trying to get agreements from the non-Muslim. They agree with you at certain stages. For example, if they agree that they've got time to speak with you, if you say, have you got a few minutes to talk, yeah? And they say, yeah, you've already got an agreement there, which is good, okay? You don't want to force anything upon them. Now, the common sense agreement, basically, you say to the person, look, in our short conversation that we're going to have, we first agree upon common sense, okay? Because some people will try to play games with you, perhaps, and waste your time. But when I say common sense, you give an example. You say, look, for example, if you're going to cross a road, okay, in the busy high street area, okay, you always look left, you always look right, and then you cross the road. You never just shut your eyes and walk blindly into the road, okay? This is common sense. And most people, if they're sensible, and most people, 95% of the people, they'll agree. They'll say, yeah, that's common sense, I agree upon that. The reason why we do that is because then later on, as you start to do the go rap, okay, later on, they can try to be a bit smart, and they can say strange things which defy common sense, and it wastes all your time. So you spent time explaining to them about God, Allah, the prophets, everything like that, and in the end they say something nonsensical, like, for example, but couldn't all this reality we see here be around us, the earth and the planets and everything, this could be a computer-generated image, right? In the minds of some Martians, aliens on the planet Mars, and they're beaming down the picture using radiation or radioactive energy or whatever, microwave energy. It comes to the planet Earth, and this is all some kind of fake illusionary type of reality. Yeah? Or Christians might say to you, oh, basically, we just feel that Jesus is the Son of God. This kind of, it doesn't make common sense. I don't say to you guys, right, I've never been in this area, this is the second time I've come to Manor Park, yeah? I can't say to Brother Hajar, I just feel that the bus number 398 is going to pull up, yeah? So therefore I'll catch my bus ride home like that. You don't do that, it's not common sense. Common sense is, you check the timetable, the TfL website, you ask someone what bus comes here. You don't do things just by feeling or whatever. So this irons out, this common sense agreement, it will take you 10 seconds, and you can use whatever example you want. The crossing the road is a very good, simple one, but I mean, can anybody think of their own examples? Could you think of a common sense example, brother? Anybody?
Don't put your head in the oven.
Yeah. Common sense is hot. The oven's hot. It's dangerous. If you put your head near it or in there or whatever, you're going to get burnt. It's common sense.
Never jump off. Would you ever jump off a bridge if someone told you to?
Common sense will tell you no, because it's dangerous. Yeah. That's it. There's many. You can think of very easy common sense things. A brother once gave me an example. It kind of fitted in with the weather. It was quite good. He said, basically, when it starts to rain or snow or whatever, and you're on the roads driving, it's common sense to drive with more care and slow down a little bit. Because if you know a lot of accidents happen when the rain's just landed and the roads are slippery and dangerous, it's common sense to use more care when you're driving, to slow down, drive more carefully. This is common sense. So whatever example you give, you get this little quick, it's like a little verbal handshake or agreement. That's why I give it a little tick, because you're looking for this little agreement. If you find them sort of not agreeing, and they're trying this funny science fiction or crazy, illusionary reality, and they're trying to play games with you or be smart or whatever, then it may be in your better interests to sort of wind up the conversation there. Because any time they're going to try this nonsensical argument and you won't get anywhere. So in that case, if they're really being funny with you and they're trying to say, yeah, we're just in the minds of some Martian or something like that and it's not real, you're not really going to get far with the guy. Because how are you going to convince him that we don't believe in that? In Islam, we believe this is a reality, yeah, this life is real. So with that person, what I'd say is, Brother Ikram, if you just hold up that book that you've got, the Science in Quran, the little one. Yeah, we're going to have some books with us as well. So when we go out today, after the Dhuhr, when we go out, we'll have some of these little Dawah books, and we'll have the postcards. The Dawah book is basically explaining Islam, it's got Quran in it, etc. With that, you can basically give that sort of person, you can say, look, have you ever read the Quran? Here's a book about it. You can basically give them information about Islam, and you can sort of move on to the next person. Because it's in your interests not to dwell on that person that's going to be wasting time, etc. There's like hundreds of non-Muslims out there. Some of them, a certain proportion of these people are actually really looking for Islam and the truth, and they're researching it. The guy I spoke to yesterday, he took Shahada, Ron. He said to me he had been looking into Islam for a long time, and he was searching, and coming to the conclusion, wanting to become a Muslim. He was really close to it, and he'd done his research, and he knew a lot. When I spoke to him, he knew about Islam. He wasn't like brand new to it, So this guy was actively searching and looking, and there's people like that out there. So why waste time with these guys that are talking nonsense when you've got the real people out there that are looking for the truth? You want to spend your time with them. It's going to waste your time and their time. It's a waste of time to go with the other people. So common sense agreement is something you can fire off straight away early in your conversation, and you've established common sense. Now, GORAP, okay, G-O-R-A-P, is designed to be sticky, a simple acronym that you guys can remember. And basically, you'll go through GORAP. First of all, G, does anyone know what G would stand for? God's existence, that's it. Or God. You can just call it God, yeah? Because I don't like to add too many words to it so that you get a little bit more heavy on your brain, you have to remember more. But basically, G stands for God. Now, the way we explain God in the Call of Duty course, we basically say that, look, you give the non-Muslim a little story. Because in Dawah, it's very good to give examples, okay? It's essential to give examples in Dawah. It's like this. Imagine all you guys there, right, are all wearing red glasses, yeah? With red lenses, glasses with red lenses. Everywhere where you look, you see red. Okay? Everybody sitting on this side of the room is wearing glasses with blue lenses. Everywhere where they look around, they see blue. So their worldview is all blue, yours is all red. In Dawah, what you're trying to do is you're trying to swap glasses. You're trying to let that worldview swap with this worldview, so they can see from your glasses. Do you understand? So the non-Muslims can see the Islamic worldview and viewpoint, because they don't think about God and Islam and prophets. They're not thinking about this every day like we are. We're doing dhikr, we make du'as, we do all these different things. So basically, you want to swap those glasses, and the best way to do it is with examples. So the example you bring to explain that God exists is what we call the mobile phone in the desert. Now this is a little easy story to remember. All you're going to say to the non-Muslim, okay, who you've just met, so they've agreed on common sense, you've met them, you shook their hands, swapped names, you've got friendly with the guy, he's cool, he's happy to talk, right? So basically you say, imagine we're not here in the Stratford area, okay, so we're at Westfield. You say we're not in Stratford, there's no shops and stuff here, we're in a desert area. Everywhere where you look, you see desert, this way there's sand, all directions there's sand, okay, somewhere like Saudi Arabia. And as we're walking, say that non-Muslim is called Fred, yeah, for example, you say, as we're walking, Fred, we're walking in that desert, and I look on the ground and I see a mobile phone. And I say to you, Fred, that mobile phone, basically, it came from nothing, okay? Bearing in mind, a mobile phone is made of glass, plastic, metal, all these electronic components, it's a complex device. It's been designed in a factory, made, etc. But I'm saying nobody dropped it, nobody put it there, it came from nothing. One day it just appeared from nothing. You ask the non-Muslim, how do you feel about this statement? How do you feel about this? And 99% of the people, in my experience, a good proportion, I'll say 95% of the people, they'll say, that's ridiculous, that's crazy. Yeah, and then you can back it up and say, it's like me saying, you've got a shop here in Stratford, yeah? Westfields, the whole Westfield shopping centre. If I said to you one day it just appeared from nothing, it's just like the same as a mobile phone. It can't appear from nothing. Somebody came to the Westfields, a builder came, he put bricks down, they put mortar, they made the windows, the doors, the shops, the till, everything you see in there, they constructed it. It didn't just bing appear one day from nothing, right? So basically, if they'll agree, most of them will agree with you. So don't feel nervous or shy that you're giving this story and they're going to say something crazy, right? There are some people, that 5%, they will say, yes, it could appear from nothing. I'll explain to you in a minute about those guys. But the point is, once this person says, yes, it's crazy, it's stupid, I never see this in everyday life, it's ridiculous. When they say that, you say to them, then what about the whole creation? The sun, the moon, the stars, the heaven, yeah, everything, me and you, our DNA, the ants, all the animals, everything that you see in the whole creation. For that to come from nothing is even more crazy than the mobile phone, because it's vastly more complex. A mobile phone is just an inorganic object, okay? It doesn't have life in it. But look at us, just our DNA, forget about our eye, vastly more complex than the mobile. You know, somebody was telling us, listening to a lecture the other day, and they were saying, you know, these cameras. You hear about these cameras and mobile phones, etc. And they're like 8 megapixel, 5 megapixel, and all this stuff. He said the human eye is something like 500 million megapixels. Do you see my point? It's so much more complex than this thing. So basically, they'll agree. They'll be like, yeah, it makes sense. For the whole of creation to come from nothing is crazy. It's impossible. So therefore, you sort of insert God in there. You say, therefore, a credible explanation for the whole of the creation, this whole creation we see, is that God is the one that made it. And again, brothers, I'm giving you the confidence to do the dawah. 90% of the people, okay, maybe 95% of the people, they'll agree, they'll say, yeah, I believe God exists. Most of the people out there, they already believe that God exists. So it's not your struggle isn't with trying to make them believe that God exists. They already believe, but they don't know who God is and how He is, etc. Their image might be like He's like Jesus or a man, an old man in the sky. You know, they've got these like idol type of beliefs of what God is like. Okay, so the God bit of Go Rap is very easy. You start with God. Okay, you've done the God bit.
Peter, can you just ask, do you believe in God?
You could.
Because that
you could.
cuts the time down.
You could, brother, and it would cut the time down.
Well, obviously, with the one who doesn't, then you've got the issue, haven't you?
Yeah, then the one who doesn't, yeah, and sometimes the story that I gave, you know, about the mobile phone in the desert, yeah?
Needs to come first.
Yeah, it kind of breaks the ice, do you know what I mean? It gives them this, because people like hearing stories, it's human nature. They like hearing stories, and when they hear it, they kind of succumb to it, and they want to give you the answer that I believe it's crazy, you know, it's stupid, isn't it? And so the story does benefit. You could ask directly, do you believe God exists? But it may be a bit too sharp and cold. Now, there's people that don't believe that God exists. So remember what I said, with each stage you're looking for an agreement, yeah? So this one, say if we got the agreement, yeah, I believe God exists, you'll move on to the next bit, the oh. Okay, but if they don't agree, do what I said before in the bit about common sense. If this person you can see, no, there's no God, He doesn't exist, I don't believe in God, yeah? Then the best thing to do is give them some book or something and say, look, have you read the Quran? Did you know that 10 million people have memorized the Quran? It's the only book on the planet Earth that hasn't changed in 1400 years. You give them the hard-hitting facts about Islam, the miracles, and you give them that book and they'll go away and read it. So, and again, you won't waste time with this person, because if he doesn't believe God exists, will he ever become a Muslim?
No.
Impossible. Okay, so you don't want to waste time with those people, but you give a polite goodbye. I don't mean you get rid of him within 1 minute. You might spend 10 minutes with him or 5 minutes, you know, explaining a bit about Islam and Quran, or whatever you want to talk about. That's kind of hard-hitting, as I say, very interesting, and then you give them the book and they go away. Now, yeah, some people will try that thing about, you know, nonsensical things. Like I had this guy, he's like an atheist, I believe he was, and he was trying the argument from physics. Basically, he was trying to say this. In physics, we've got different laws, you know, constants like gravity, Planck's constant, all these different kind of scientific things. And he said, one of these laws, he said, we don't know all the laws that are out there. There's a group of laws that we don't know about at this time. We'll learn them later on, okay? And he said, one of those laws that we don't know could make something come from nothing. Okay? That's his argument, yeah? So he's trying to say something can come from nothing. We don't know the law yet, but it could, or it can, yeah? Now this is actually an argument from ignorance, because he doesn't have the knowledge already. So it's like a loaded argument anyway. Basically, brothers and sisters, nothing comes from nothing. Okay? Nothing comes from nothing. That's the simple, concrete argument in Islam, yeah? Nothing comes from nothing. And when you've got that in your head, you realise rapidly, this whole creation can only be created by Allah. The Creator could create the creation, you know? And self-creation, you know, the thing creating itself, that's an impossibility as well. Does anybody know why? Why is it that something can't create itself?
It has to exist.
It's very close to what the answer is. It has to?
If you want to create itself, it has to exist.
Yeah, it has to be in existence and not in existence at the same time instance, exactly the same time. It has to be in existence. It's like this card being there and not being there at the same time. Self-creation is an impossibility. It cannot happen. You know, it's something that it doesn't, even in nature. They try to claim, these neo-atheists, they try to say we've seen little elements of self-creation and stuff like that, but it's a fallacy. It's not really happening, you know.
What is that one? Because I've heard about certain particles appearing.
I haven't studied it in depth, but they're trying to claim that the self-creation does take place. But logically, it's a fallacy, brother. It's like it's like saying, can God lie? It's not in God's nature to lie. He's the truthful one, you know. So it's like a loaded question from the beginning. There's no point thinking about it too deeply, because it can make you get dizzy, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? It's best to just understand that nothing, self-creation is impossible, because of the fact that I said it can't be in existence and not in existence at the same time. That's why. 'Cause it just doesn't happen. It's like philosophy, but it's a very clear point.
It's like using common sense, isn't it?
It is common sense comes into it, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, common sense will tell you that it just doesn't happen. Do you know what I mean? So, okay, so now the non-Muslim Fred, whoever it was. Yes, sorry, Hajar.
In case if they kind of continuing this argument,
Yeah.
what a best way to avoid this and to wind up that conversation.
Yeah.
So by handing out, what is the best way to avoid these kind of atheist beliefs?
With the atheist, I would come with some hard-hitting fact. Some amazing fact of the Quran.
About the baby being formed in the stomach.
In the embryo, anything. Because the atheists tend to be on the scientific realm anyway. They like science. So like the brother said, embryo is perfect. Embryology. Explain to them, look, at one stage in the embryology, it looks like a leech-type clot at the early stages of pregnancy, okay? But like I was saying in my talk yesterday, you can only see that with an electron microscope. Yeah, a very powerful electronic tool of today, modern day technology. The Prophet Muhammad, he couldn't see that at the time, but it's in the Quran. And how did they know 1400 years ago?
But my question is,
yeah,
to wind up the conversation, because this guy, say example, this atheist in front of you,
yeah,
he's
simply,
gonna keep kind of,
yeah,
if you put this one in a kind of an example, he'll come back again with his terminology. In that case, to stop this discussion or anything, is that the best way to handing out that study about the God's existence, that material, the science?
that's generally how I deal with it. If I realise this is an atheist, he's very stubborn, very rigid, okay, he's not going to shift from his opinion, then in effect he'll be wasting your time. Because say he's never going to agree God exists for the next 3 hours, he's never going to agree. There's no point spending 3 hours with him, because you'll have wasted, like I said, the other potential Muslims out there. From the non-Muslims, those that are really looking for the truth, they want to say Shahada, they want to accept Islam, you're going to deny them the time. So with this guy, the best way is to say, look, alright, you don't believe that God exists, but I as a Muslim do believe that God exists. And I've got good reasons, rational reasons, that he does exist. Okay, and one of the main things is the miraculous nature of the Quran. Okay, which in it has got miracles. Okay, or mention of, in itself it's a miracle, it's unchanged for 1400 years. And have you read it? If not, I'll give you this free book about the Quran. It's very easy to wind it up with that person.
We need that technique.
Yeah, that's how you'd wind it up. You'd say that, okay, you don't believe in God, but I happen to believe in God. They'll be listening. They won't be like mocking you or anything like that. Don't feel nervous. You haven't done Dawah. They're not going to be like that.
One of the professor who visited our masjid,
yeah,
he was in a California based and visiting professor of California medical science.
Yeah,
he was an atheist for 40 years.
Yeah,
and then he's been changed just by a word from his friend. Now he embraced Islam. Alhamdulillah.
yeah.
Now he's 40 years he was preaching against Islam. Now he's preaching that God existed. So he can be a
person can change like
change
that.
through the exploring the Quran.
Yeah.
But he went it through because he was a scientist, so he's just gone through.
If anything will change anyone, it will be the Quran.
So the Quran, the condensed version, what we carry.
Yes.
Is that enough for someone who's intellectual?
It is enough, brother, because you don't need to give them the whole book.
Just the taster.
Yeah, it's got parts of the Quran in there.
No, I do agree.
Yeah.
That saying about the bullet points that you have condensed in the verse.
It's not really what it is. It's ayats and verses of the Quran put into chapters.
But meaning about the person whom I met with him yesterday.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, he had taken shahada through me. But the
Yeah.
thing is, that person, he is a homeless person.
Yeah, yeah.
But the person who'd been given a full Quran, he said that no, I didn't have the chance to read the whole Quran. But it's okay for him, to his standard, that okay, I don't have the time.
Yeah.
But for someone who's just want to refute all your arguments, everything,
Yeah.
that person needs to be given a proper Quran, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Someone that's going to go into the refutation deep and analyse the whole Quran, obviously give them a whole Quran. But what we don't want to do, see, it's a bit like what I was saying about the cards. We could just do, our dawah today could have been like this. I give each brother here 100 Qurans, a box full, okay, or 1,000 Qurans, and we just go out and give out Qurans. It would be effective, but I guarantee you, 70% will go in the bin. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And it's not obviously it's not Arabic going in the bin. That would be a bad thing to do with the Quran. It's English translation, but it's a waste of money because each Quran might cost £2 or something like that. And before you know it, you've chucked thousands in the bin. 10% or 1% of the people out there might be EDL. The rest might 10% might be Christian hardcore fundamentalists. They're going to chuck it in the bin or put it on the shelf or whatever they do with it. It's going to be wasted. So IERA produced these cards because of that reason. Each card costs less than a penny to make. Okay. And if they get it, you'll even see some on the floor after you've been doing dawah. it doesn't completely break the bank. Do you understand, brothers? Yeah? So obviously giving out Quran is a very noble thing, a good thing, but we don't want to randomly distribute. Anyway, getting back to the bit about the go rap, yeah? So we've had an agreement that God exists. You know, you give a polite goodbye. If they don't agree God exists, you talk a bit about the Quran, that you do believe in God, and the Quran is a proof that you believe in God, and you can give them a book or something. Now, does anyone know what O stands for?
Oneness.
Yeah, oneness, that's it. Now, oneness is very easy, brothers, to explain. Very easy. Oneness, okay? Basically, you say to them this. Look, so with God's existence, you had the mobile phone in the desert, the little short story. With oneness, you say to them this. Look, say, if there was two gods, yeah, two or more, but let's say two in this example. If there's two gods, God A, God B. God A wants to make all of Stratford Station, he wants to make it closed, yeah, on January the 1st, 2014. He wants to make it closed. So it's all shut for the day. But God B, he wants to keep it open on the same date and same time. These two gods, yeah, their wills would conflict. Do you understand? God A and God B, one's trying to do one thing, the other's trying to do the opposite. Their wills, remember the important word is will. Their wills would conflict and they would be fighting each other. One's trying to say, I want it open, the other one shut. It doesn't make sense, does it? So it doesn't make sense that there could be more than one God. Yeah, there has to be just one ultimate God. And you can give some names that it's good to say the creator. Don't always use the word God, 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 because again they've got that misconception of what the God is. They might think it's a man in the sky or something like that, or Jesus or whatever. So we stick to that he's the creator, the all-powerful, the all-knowing. You know, you can, at this point, give some of Allah's names. No, he's the all-powerful, the all-knowing. Another way you can sort of explain or touch upon it, you say in Islam, but stick to the one I said about the wills. The wills would conflict and there would be chaos in the earth. It's an ayat from the Quran. If there was more than one God, you would see disorder and chaos. Yeah? So that's how you explain oneness. Okay? Again, you are looking for that agreement. Whether you get the agreement or not, you know what to do. If you get an agreement, you move on to the R bit, yeah, which I'll explain. If there's no agreement, you know you're going to wind things up, because the guy he believes a Hindu. He believes fervently that there's 100 gods, okay, and he's not shifting from that position. You try to convince him as best as you can, but you may not get far. Now, the other way I was explaining about oneness. Yes,
Yeah,
brother.
the Hindus, they already believe there's wars with their gods, because I spoke to, from my research, because they already have in their religion that there was wars with the gods.
Yeah. I know they've got strange beliefs, like your brother was talking the other day about the cousin thing, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He said they believe in one God, but this God has got cousins, you know? It's some kind of crazy, nonsensical stuff. This goes back to common sense again, because it's from common sense and the fitrah that you believe in one God.
Yeah.
So anyway, the thing I was saying about the names or attributes of Allah, you know, if you say God is the all-knowing, okay? He's the all-powerful, he's the all-wise, he's the all-loving, he's the all-seeing, the all-merciful. If you've got this God, if this God is the all-wise, you cannot therefore have another God that is the all-wise. Does it make sense? Does it make sense, brother?
No, I'm saying it doesn't make sense having two.
It doesn't, no.
Yeah.
Because of the, you know, the THE. Yeah, that bit's important. Every time I use those attributes or names, I said that he's the all-wise, he's the all-powerful, the all-knowing. If he's the all-powerful, you cannot have another one that's the all-powerful, because he already took the title. In a worldly example, it's like heavyweight boxing championship. You get one belt, that boxer, he wins one belt. No one else can share that belt. They don't say, one day you wear it, I'll have it the next day. You don't share it, it's like it's unity, it's oneness. So that's very straightforward, brothers, to explain oneness, okay? And you'll be surprised, again, 70 to 90% of the non-Muslims out there, they'll agree that God is one. It makes sense. Even the Christians, if you push them to it, when push comes to shove, they might believe in the Trinity, but they believe in one God. You know, even though they've got this Trinity, the concept, they still believe that there's one God, sort of thing, okay? Now, with R stands for revelation, okay? Revelation, basically meaning the Quran, that's all it stands for, okay? So you've got the revelation, or the books that came, specifically the Quran. Again, I'm going to use an example, because remember I explained to you, you're trying to swap the glasses, so they can see your worldview. The Quran, basically, you say to them, look, every time you buy a gadget, you know, a new mobile phone, camera, television, anything you buy, some electronic device, you always go to some hardware store, electronic store, PC World, Curry's, wherever you go. Whenever you buy it, you always get with that thing a little booklet, okay? That little booklet is the instruction manual. It tells you, charge it for this much time, program it with this button, don't do this, don't expose it to this temperature, humidity, whatever. It tells you the do's and don'ts. The Quran is an instruction manual, but for human beings. That's all you explain to them. You don't have to go any further. And they'll understand, as a person that's never read the Quran, they'll understand from your worldview what you're talking about. Okay, so it's a book that, you know, it tells you how to live your life. Basically, that's all the Quran is. And at that point, you can bring your examples of evidence. You know, for example, it's unchanged for 1400 years. Did you know the Quran has got some scientific facts in it? Mountains have got roots. This is where you guys have to do your own research and what you learn in your everyday lives, and you bring that into the Dawah. I can't train you on every angle of Dawah. You have to bring in your own knowledge as well. And you're already da'is. Everyone in this room here is a da'i, because the Prophet Muhammad said, convey from me even if it's just one ayat. Okay, one ayat, convey it. So you all know Fatiha, so you're 7 times qualified. You know 7 ayats already, minimum, and you know more surahs, yeah? So you're multiple times qualified to do the work of Dawah. The Prophet is saying one ayat, you know? Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, that is Dawah to the non-Muslim. So Revelation is very straightforward, and again, they won't really disagree. Most people will be very interested in that, the Quran. They'll be like, wow, I didn't know this book's unchanged for 1400 years in the original Arabic. I didn't know that 10 million people have memorized the whole Quran. That's fantastic, that's amazing. And these 10 million people, they're not all Arab speakers. There's Russians, there's Chinese, Malaysians, whoever they speak. They don't speak Arabic. It's not their mother tongue, but they've memorized the whole book. 10 million people, the most memorized book on the planet Earth. I don't even know what the second best, most memorized book is. I don't even know which title it is. You know, even if they've got that statistic, because they might say it's 300,000, then half those 300,000 might forget. How do we know they can remember that book? Brother, if you don't mind, I'll take some questions at the end, inshallah.
No, just very relevant
Yeah,
to this one.
go
I
on.
faced this yesterday, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry to disturb you. Basically, I was talking about Revelation yesterday.
Yeah.
Would not be better rather than saying a manual, like basically if you said to someone, look, everything has a manual,
Yeah.
this is a manual for human beings.
Yeah.
The woman said, yeah, but we're humans, we don't need a manual, we're not like an object. So would it be better to say a guide? Because she said, I don't want to follow
You
the
could
rules,
say, because that instruction manual or instruction booklet is the guide. The guide. They call that thing the guide as well. That
but if she
instruction
says, I
manual.
don't follow that, I'm still happy, I'm still living my
You
life.
could use the word guide without any problem. You could use the word guide and it will still mean the same thing. So you
Okay.
don't have to say instruction manual.
Secondly, obviously,
Yeah.
for me to convince her to follow this, obviously, I have
Yeah.
to say why, logically, use common sense, why it's, it's got credibility, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I see some brothers on YouTube, they're easy, they got like a list of
Yeah.
Quranic facts.
Yes.
It would be very helpful if you just give up to, I don't know if you guys have one, just a list like 10, 20 facts
Yeah.
about the Quran, miraculous facts. We could just go over that with them. It would be
I
very
mean, these are some that I'm giving you. And obviously, this is a very condensed course, and I'm doing it in quite a hurry. But you can tell them, look, 10 million people have memorized the book. That's one fact. That's one of Dr. Fazl's facts he used on that sheet. I know the sheet you mean.
Yeah,
He used that. He asked them to read it sometimes, and they read it themselves. That 10 million people have memorized it. It's the only book on the planet Earth that hasn't changed in 1400 years.
Fastest growing religion.
Yeah, but this is more about the Quran, the brother's saying, about specifically the Quran.
Scientific facts.
Yeah, the scientific facts. There's like 1,000 ayats that mention science in the Quran. Yeah, historical facts in the Quran, history that they only got proved of recent times, but it's historically preserved in the Quran. And then the linguistic miracle that the book basically is unchangeable, as in you can't produce an ayat like it. That's about 5 there for you. The rest you could maybe contact Dr. Fazl or whatever and get his sheet that he's got. You know, because he's got a good sheet. I know the one, I saw someone had it the other day, but that's a good little leaflet to have. So basically, Revelation, Quran, like I say, it's very easy to explain. You know, these books, see what it is, brothers, what you've got to understand is, without getting too technical, if the person agrees that God exists, okay, he agrees that he's one, okay, then it doesn't seem impossible that that one true God, that one God that exists, for him to send down a book, then it doesn't seem impossible, does it? Because on the one hand, when they spoke about mobile phone in the desert, they're already agreeing with you that the God made everything in the whole in creation, in the whole universe. He made everything. So why can't he make a simple book called the Quran, yeah, or other books like you mentioned, the Bible, the Psalms, yeah, Torah, all these other books? Why is it impossible for that God that you've agreed exists? Why is it impossible for him to send down or make these, let's say, reveal these books? It doesn't seem impossible then, does it? It seems very easy, doesn't it? In fact, you know, you might start to argue to make the sun is harder than to make a book that gets sent down or revealed. Because Revelation was like sent wahi, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, God can do that. Do you understand?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not a struggle. To explain the Quran at that point won't be a battle. Do you understand? They may disagree. I've never seen anybody disagree, by the way. I don't remember anyone that I've spoke to that they say no, there couldn't be any, because these are, in a way, they're your big major points anyway. Look, the fact they've agreed that God exists and He's one, that's half the Shahada there. Yeah, that's the first bit of the Shahada, isn't it? Yeah, the rest is Muhammad Rasulullah. So they've agreed on the half the Shahada. That's A lot of the work has been done there, a huge chunk of the work. Okay, so then basically A in Go Rap, it doesn't stand for anything, right? It just helps the acronym Go Rap, yeah? And P stands for, anyone know? Prophethood. That's it. Prophethood. Now, prophethood kind of links very closely with revelation, okay? It basically is saying that you basically, this one, you know, this one is important. You want to basically say to the non-Muslim, look, God sent down many messengers or prophets, right? Adam, Noah, Moses, Jacob, Jesus, Muhammad, yeah? And you mentioned Jesus, we believe in him just like the Christians. All these line of messengers, they came with the same message that I'm preaching to you now. So as you're standing there doing the dawah, you're doing the work of the messengers. You're saying the same thing, that God exists, he's one. And you say they came with that same message that I'm preaching to you now, that God exists, that he's one, he should be worshipped, okay? And they brought good news and they brought a warning as well. And this is very important in your dawah. Don't be shy of explaining about Jannah and Jahannam. You know, some people think, oh, if I talk about Jahannam, I'm going to look like some strict fundamentalist, preacher type person, you know, trying to scare people. No, you shouldn't have this mindset. You should be proud of your Islam, happy. You know, it's a reality of Islam, isn't it? Jahannam exists, so does Jannah. And with Jannah, I like to bring an example so they can understand it. I like to say that basically, look, very easy worldly example. You ask the non-Muslim, what's your favourite dessert? Let me test it out on you, brother. What's your favourite dessert? Some Tamil dessert. Come on. And
He's not Tamil.
he's not Tamil, no. What?
I'm
Which
a
one?
savoury place.
Savoury.
Anyway,
There must be some sweet that you like.
ice cream.
Anything, chocolate ice cream. Okay, so it's chocolate ice cream, yeah? Okay, I say to you, brother, and remember you're the non-Muslim that's saying, you know, you've asked them what dessert you like. So the non-Muslim says ice cream. I say to the non-Muslim, look, today I'm going to buy you an ice cream, yeah? And I'll give it to you. Today I'll buy you one and I'll give it to you. You lick this ice cream, chocolate ice cream, and you say to me, Murtada, that's the best chocolate ice cream I've ever tasted in my life, okay? So I say to you, I'm so happy, Fred, I'm going to go back, tomorrow I'm going to come back, I'm going to buy you another ice cream. So you go away, tomorrow I'll meet you, I'll give you another ice cream, you lick it, and you say to me, Murtada, that was 100 million times better than yesterday. So I'm like, I'm over the moon, I'm going to do it on the 3rd day, 4th day, 5th day, 6th day, 7th day. Imagine this going on forever. That's the pleasures you get in paradise. So you explain to the non-Muslim in a worldly way what paradise will be like. You tell them you never die, you never get sick, you never get stressed, you never get worries, you never have to study, you never have to work, you never, you know, basically anything you wish for, you get it. That's what the paradise is going to be like. And when you explain this to anyone that's got common sense, this will sound like an amazing thing to have when you die, rather than what the atheists believe, which is worms through your body. Just as one atheist said, what you get when you die is what you have, the state you were in before you were born. Nothing, basically, isn't it? You know, it's ridiculous, isn't it, brother? If I said to you today, I'm going to give you a Ferrari, yeah, as a gift, you know, just on me, you have the Ferrari. Would you rather have the Ferrari or would you have nothing?
They're sort of answering partly, they're contradicting themselves because they're saying they came into existence from nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they do try to claim that, yeah.
From nothing they can become something, so why can't you from dead?
But the problem is, brother, their argument is fallacious from the beginning. It's an impossibility. You know, then they tried to claim they came from nothing, but it didn't come from absolutely nothing. Do you know what I mean? Allah created, there was nothing at one point, and Allah created the creation. You know? Do you see my point? But it didn't come from the nothing. Nothing comes from nothing. It's very simple. So basically, so this is important that you explain about the Jannah, the heaven, and that's what you'll get. You explain to them, look, if you were to accept Islam, that's what you're guaranteed, that paradise. And you don't know when you're going to die. You could die any time. You go home this evening, you go to sleep, you don't wake up the next morning. You know, you would want that Jannah. And you can explain to them about the Jahannam. You say, basically, a person that had all the knowledge about God and everything and the truth of Islam, and he rejected it, he could be susceptible to the punishment of hellfire, where the skin gets burnt, and then Allah replaces it with new skins, and that skin gets burnt, and that goes on forever. You know, you can explain some bad characters in history. For example, Hitler. Adolf Hitler, he basically murdered 6 million Jews. He killed men, women and children. He's a very bad character. You know, this guy, and he could have known about God and rejected him. He's a very, you know, this guy, his end destiny, if Allah is willing it, is going to be Jahannam. Do you see my point? So you put things in their context and explain. And then basically, that kind of wraps it up. I mean, you've gone through, if you get an agreement there, again, they won't see it as something strange. If God exists and he's one and he's all-powerful, almighty, he could easily send messengers, send them down to the planet Earth, okay? And they came in the message, and you can explain that these prophets came, and that the people that they were exposed with, they forgot the message. So God sent a new reviver each time. But the fact that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the last messenger and he came with the miraculous Quran, there'll be no prophets after him, because the Quran is a miracle. It's a very heavy proof that the Islam, that basically Islam is the true religion. And you can, back it up with your own knowledge of Islam and stuff like that. That really, there's only been one true religion, Islam, since the time of Adam. And that's been the true religion. The different names, Christianity, whatever, it's just naming of things, but it's not the reality. So that basically is the technique you'll use, the go rap, okay? That's all you'll fire out. If you've got the acronym in your head, if you guys leave this room today to go out there and do the dawah, and you've just got in your head go rap, inshallah it will slowly come together. Even if you miss out a couple of steps, it's not the end of the world. So you started with God. Obviously you have to, you might go from G to the Quran, and then you realise I must make him agree that God is one, and then you go Prophet. You didn't do it in the right order, but it will slowly sink in. The more dawah you do, the more it will sink in, and the easier it will flow, and you'll get the swing of it, and it will get easier, inshallah. And then at the end, brothers, basically, what you're trying to do is, you were trying to get agreements. I put all the ticks on the sheet, on the wall, I put all the ticks. These agreements that you were getting, okay, you're basically, you see, at the end of the conversation, if someone agrees to all of that, you can then make the statement, and this is what Dr. Fazl does. So this is part of from his course, yeah? He basically says, look, already your belief is the belief of a Muslim. Does that make sense? So if they believe God exists, that He's one, that there was Prophet Muhammad, yeah, and there was Quran, that's what the Muslims believe. There's nothing really, essentially, that's our Aqidah and belief. So you say to them, already, from my short conversation with you, I've noticed you've agreed on all these points, already you've got the belief of a Muslim, okay? If you would like to formalise that belief, you could say some simple words, yeah, which is the Shahada, and you would then join a family of 1.6 billion followers. That's how many Muslims there are on the planet Earth today, 1.6 billion followers. So you would join that family, and you would become a Muslim, and you'd be guaranteed that paradise. With the example of the ice cream, you explained it. You guaranteed that paradise, yeah, and you also get peace in this world, okay? Peace in this world meaning that, because your life has got purpose and meaning to it, and you're submitting your will to the will of God, things will get more structured in your life, and it will have more meaning and purpose and stuff like that, and you'll have a peaceful life compared to if you were just following your desires, going here, doing this, drinking, whatever you're doing, going all astray. You're going to have a problematic life of no peace. So you explain the advantages of it, and at that point, you see if the person may want to take Shahada, and you explain to them in English, I bear witness, none has a right to be worshipped except for Allah, and that Muhammad is His messenger, and you can let them say it in Arabic. You don't have to be too fickle about how they get every Arabic word right. If they stumble on a little bit, it's not the end. It's not like they didn't take Shahada. But the important thing is, and I'm going to move on to this bit now in the next bit of the course, which is basically how to look after that new Muslim. Okay, so I'll tell you now straight, brothers. Getting the Shahada, right, this bit here, this Dawah training course, and getting that Shahada is the easy part. That's the easy part. The difficult part, this bit where your work actually comes in, is now looking after that new Muslim, okay? And, really, this is where you have to be very proactive, because a lot of people are taking Shahada, and then they're not remaining upon Islam for very long. That's what our research has found out. So people are taking Shahada, 2 weeks later they're like, I don't even remember saying Shahada, or I don't want to follow it anymore, yeah, or I can't tell my family, it's too much pressure. These problems come up. So for the next about half an hour, roughly 25 minutes, I'll just go through some points about new Muslims. Now, try to bear with me, because this is the first time I'm doing this bit about the new Muslims. It's a newly introduced course that we've done in IERA. So I'm sort of reading from my notes, but we'll go through some sort of bits and pieces. Now, basically, one thing you don't want to do, once you've got this Shahada, you don't want to lose your passion for Dawah. It's very easy to think, I got a result, I've had one Shahada, for the next 10 years I can sit back because I've earned my reward. You don't want to do that, yeah? You want to still be enthusiastic with Dawah, you want to go out there and still keep doing Dawah. Okay, now, problematic situation with today's Shahadas is what I explained to you guys. I said, it's very much that people say Shahada in big numbers, and they don't stick on it. I don't know what the exact figures are, but it could be as low as 10% actually remain upon Islam. So from 10 Shahadas, only 1 is remaining. Okay, so now, a little bit of, so it's not about this count, it's not about we got 100 Shahadas, or we got 1,000 Shahadas, we're doing very well. It doesn't necessarily reflect that you're doing very well, okay? Now, it's all about quality, and my sort of point to you guys is, what do you think, as a group here, brothers, what would you say, you know, you've been through the whole of the go rap, etc., you know, this person taking shahada, what do you think is a quality shahada? Any ideas?
Someone that sticks with it.
Somebody that sticks with it, yeah? Okay,
Someone who wants to learn more about Islam,
okay, yeah.
increase their knowledge.
Yeah, you both sort of answered it, the main points. In what you've said kind of covers the points I've got. Any other points, brothers? Like, what would make a quality shahada?
To make them practice.
To make them practice, yes, definitely.
Or show them.
About shower?
Show them. Show them how
Show
to
them.
practice.
Yeah, to
Show
show
them
them,
practically.
yeah, show them practically. That's very important. Yeah, definitely important. Yeah,
Provide full support, after to make sure that
yeah,
you have to watch him closely.
yeah. Nurture it.
Yeah.
Definitely, very, very important. Yeah. Any others?
Stay in contact.
And keep in contact.
Stay in contact. Yeah, he said the same as you. Yeah, stay in contact with that new person. Yeah, you don't want to say like this person took shahada, and he basically, you know, nobody rang him for like days and days. You want to ring him within a few days and say, look, Mike, whatever your name is, you remember you said those words, you became a Muslim. Are you still happy with it? Are you, you know? And you want to slowly sort of give them some education, like start to teach them what's the main thing that you want to teach them. Yeah, that's the one and only main thing. I'd say don't go into any other areas. You know, don't look at anything else, because what they'll think then is that Islam is a religion where you have to do loads of rites and rituals. Yeah, and you don't want to push this in your dawah. In fact, when you're doing your dawah, you want to basically say, look, when you accept Islam, or if you accept Islam, you don't really change your life. So this guy Fred, he still remains as Fred. He can even keep the name Fred. Okay, his family is still his family. His job is still his job. His friends are his friends. Obviously, you don't want to keep bad company, but I'm saying essentially you're still the same character, the same person. Okay, but you're making a small change, but you're not changing all facets of your life. You make a small change, as in you go back to the fitrah, which is a small natural type of change that you do, but you don't, you know, you don't make loads of these new changes. And the introduction of the prayer, you want to do that in stages, slowly. Even if in the beginning they learn how to pray in English, okay, not in Arabic or whatever, they don't learn the salah, that's not a problem. Do you understand? Because that's how it is for the new person. The main thing is, you don't want to bombard them with rules and regulations. You don't want to say, oh, you can't drink tomorrow, yeah, or you're not allowed to your girlfriend, or all these different things that we know are haram. You don't start coming with these regulations and rules, because what happens is the person, the desires may be stronger, and they'll reject what you're saying, and they'll follow the desires, and then they'll pack up all of it. A lot of people do this. They reject it because they can't handle that. They have to give up the change. You know, they can't give up alcohol. Some person, he may be an alcoholic, yeah, but he's taken shahada. You know, yeah, this guy's, you know, he's an alcoholic, but he's still a Muslim. You see, he still took shahada, whatever, and he might pray or learn how to pray, and he still drinks. You know, Allah knows best, but you've got to give the person time. And then the prayer will knock out the drink. Do you understand? Because you have to be in the prayer in your mind, and the one Allah guides, He guides, you know, and the one will get destroyed, and you know the other will win. Sorry, Uthman, did you have a question?
No, I did actually.
You did. You did. No, brother, yeah.
You know when we got them to the stage of obviously saying the shahada,
Yes.
would you not, obviously, and you mentioned there's a high statistics where people
They leave.
don't continue with,
Yeah.
with it.
There is. Yeah.
So, before they actually take the shahada, would you not give them a brief explanation as to 5 pillars? Like praying, Hajj, fasting.
You could. Yeah. You could.
Well, obviously you've got the agreement now.
Yeah.
So they've come to a common sense that they exist, and it makes
You would
sense.
definitely at least do that afterwards. Yeah.
Okay.
But you can do it before. I've noticed Dr. Fazl, he does it before.
Yeah.
He even explains the 6 pillars.
Because it shows more commitment.
Yeah, it does. But all this is what I'm saying. This is like a, you know, the Go Rap, yeah, is basically, it's like a little map or structure, yeah? It's not a rigid tool that you just stick to, and you think to yourself, if I don't do the Go Rap, then I did bad dawah. Do you understand? It's like this. If I sent you guys out there with no knowledge of Go Rap, and I said to you, go and do dawah, then you might get that guy asking you all those questions, you know, the difficult ones.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't drink. Oh, you can't drive. Oh, this and that. You know about your prophet. All these endless questions. Then you'll feel really bad in your dawah. You'll find it difficult. But with the Go Rap gives you this little bit of foundational tool that you hold on to and you go out there. But you have to like fill it out with your own examples and your own knowledge and stuff like that. So definitely, if you were to explain the 5 pillars, there's no harm in that. But what we've got to remember is, you know, with the 5 pillars, there's only, you know, for example, all the other pillars, they're not obligatory. Some people think, even zakat, is zakat obligatory?
Only if you can afford it. If you're above a certain
Only on certain people.
Yeah.
Zakat is only if you're poor, you're in need of zakat, you don't pay zakat. So it's not, it's one of the 5 pillars, but it's not like the prayer which you have to do.
Yeah.
Okay, Ramadan, is it obligatory?
Only
If you're
capable.
sick, you can.
If you're sick, if you're very old, elderly, you can't do it, physical needs, then you don't have to fast. Okay? And which other one am I missing? Hajj. Is it obligatory? No. Oh, if you can't afford it, yeah. So it's only. So the point being, it's good to explain it. Definitely, if you're happy with that, brother, do it. Don't feel pinned down with what I'm explaining. Don't think I have to follow it like bullet
You
point,
have to
bullet
basically
point.
tailor it to that individual.
Yeah, you flourish it with your own knowledge of Islam. Yeah. So you look, Dr. Fazl, he's a guy that does Dawah is easy. He's another guy that does Dawah training. He does bring that before he goes to the Shahada bit and explain the Shahada. He does explain. We pray, we fast. You know, these pillars or whatever. Yeah. He explains the pillars of Iman. We believe in the angels, the books. Okay, the Day of Judgment, all the pillars, 6 pillars of faith. He explains them all first, and it's good because what you'll find is when the person started agreeing there, the fitrah takes over, and they'll tend to agree with the new bits that you're bringing, because people don't think about angels nowadays. It's like fairy tales for them, yeah. But when you're explaining it from the angle of God, etc., then they'll sort of agree. Any other questions? Go on, Ajay.
Yeah, it's contradicting to this one. I would
Yeah.
feel that it's too much of overload to
But
that.
that's why it's not particularly part of the go-wrap. We don't have here P for whatever pillars of Islam. It's not really in there. But brother, it's about a balance. You know what it's also about? You know what it is, guys? This is what my good friend Hamza Zorksin said. He came out with the best quote. He said, really, it doesn't matter what you say. You know, in Dawah,
Allah
it doesn't matter what you say. Yeah, Allah is the one that guides, yeah? But it doesn't matter what you say. It's how you say it. If you go out there and you show the best manners, best akhlaq, adab, everything with the non-Muslim, you treat them like you treat your mother, yeah? That's how you treat the non-Muslim. Basically, they'll be coming running to accept Islam.
Sure.
Do you see my point, brothers, yeah? Obviously, he's paraphrasing. He doesn't mean it literally. You have to explain oneness, you have to explain Tawheed. It doesn't work without it. But his point being, let's not get too technical and rigid on what you say, when and how. Don't get too bogged down. It's more about character judgment. And that's why Sheikh Kamal al-Makki, yeah, he does a very good Dawah training course, Shahada in 10 minutes. He explained a lot of psychology and stuff like that, how to gauge with people, how to work out their character, the do's and the don'ts, things people like, what sways a person, this and that. It's more to do with science and psychology. Do you see my point, brother? Rather than raw, oh, Quran, revelation, this and that. You know, he talks more about liking that character and catching that person, being like a good salesman. That's how you kind of do the Dawah. But I don't like to use that term because Islam isn't something for sale, but it's a service that for someone's life. Okay, so it's a service that you offer, but it's like that salesman type thing where you're trying to sell and give them more certainty about something. Because in any conversation, if one party is more certain than the other one, if we were talking about something, brother, you'll notice this in any time 2 people have a conversation, when one person is more certain about what he believes in, he'll always win the argument. No matter what angle or technique he used or whatever route he went, the one that's got more certainty will always win. So it does, Dawah in a way does shake your faith in the sense that it does check your iman, because if you go out there as a strong believer, the chances are you'll be a better da'i. But if you're a weak believer, you don't really fully believe, you've got shubahat and you've got problematic Islam, then you're not really going to convince that person because you yourself aren't grounded. Do you see my point, brothers? So the key to the Dawah is be very good and grounded in your Islam, and go out there and just really gauge it, brother. You know what you said? I say you're both right, yeah? You're both right, yeah? You can say those 5 pillars. There's not no harm in that, because the prophets, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he brought the news of the 5 pillars. It's very important, yeah? So you gauge it, you work. If you see the person's not very chatty, so you're talking to a non-Muslim and they're not very talkative, and they don't seem to be a person that could take on loads of knowledge, right? Loads of new information, but they're happy with simple things like God is one. They might say to you, I've believed this for years. So it's a two-way thing. Do you understand, brother? It doesn't all you firing away. It's a two-way thing, and you work out both ways. You learn from them, and they learn from you, and that's how you do the Dawah. Yes, brother.
What if when we go and we speak to them, what if they're Muslim but they don't understand it properly?
Okay, really, we're not. Our main aim is to call the non-Muslims to Islam. We're not really going to talk to the Muslims. Does that make sense? See, Muslims will come. This happens in real. It's a very good question, because in real Dawah, you've seen it, I'm sure, with Uthman. Muslims come to the table, don't they? Right? Some even don't even say they're Muslim. Right? Yarhamakallah. You know what I mean? So Muslims will come to your Dawah stall. and they'll stand there and whatever, and basically, okay, there are non-practicing Muslims, and I'm not going to say don't give them dawah, because obviously we want to save them as well. But our main, priority is those non-Muslims. You know, the majority of people in this country, they're non-Muslims. They don't understand Islam. They've never prayed, nothing like that. They're the people that we really want to aim at. Do you see my point? They're the ones we want to target. But if a Muslim comes to you, again, the sad reality is it's the state of the Muslims now. It's like, I find from my experience, the Muslims can probably waste more time. So they come and they start talking about, oh, you're doing very good work. They give good words of encouragement. You ask them to make dua. It's best to ask them to make dua and just go away. But then some of them start talking about things that are not very relevant. And really, when you go out there, one thing I don't want you to do is, I don't want you to basically get into your own little conversations with each other. Do you see my point? Because we'll go out there today and you'll be in little groups, maybe pairs or threes, okay? But you shouldn't stand in a little circle and just start talking to fill in the time for when you'll be talking to the non-Muslim. It doesn't work like that. You should be very proactive. Because this goes back to, I'll make a final point and I'll continue with the NRG, but basically it goes back to the sort of dawah that's been taking place in the UK or worldwide of the recent times is what I call passive dawah. So what happens with passive dawah is, and this you've probably experienced it in your lives, passive dawah is basically where you're at your workplace or you're at your university, college, wherever you are, and some non-Muslim comes to you and says, oh, I've noticed you haven't eaten lunch for the last 3 weeks. You haven't been having lunch with us in the cafe. Right? And then you reply and say, yeah, because it's Ramadan, I'm fasting, we believe in one God, da-da-da-da-da. Yeah? This is passive dawah. They came to you and you just answered their questions, and it's very slow. 6 months will pass, or even a year, until next Ramadan or whatever it is. Do you see where I'm coming from? This is the old trend or pattern of passive dawah. We want to nip that in the bud, brother. Yeah? We want to close it off now. We want to say no. Muslims have changed in the UK. We want to do active dawah. So that's why we've got the postcards, and we're actively going out. We're actively engaging and stopping these people. Do you see my point, brother? We're saying, excuse me, sir, have you got time to talk? And we're being proactive. So we are being, interfering in a good way. Yeah, it's a bad word. I mean, we're sort of like interacting. Yeah, we're interacting with the non-Muslims out there. We're not just this passive crew that just sit back and wait for a question. No, we're going out there with force, and we're interacting, and we're acknowledging that they exist, and we're offering our religion to them. So.
You mentioned about the the Muslims coming.
Yes.
Some people are Muslims just by name, and they don't really have, for example, revelation. They probably never read the Quran.
I see these people.
So could we not use this same method on those
of course
Muslims
you can.
as well?
Yeah, definitely, brother, you can.
Because it's like, in reality, they're not Muslims.
That's what I was going to say. Scholars say that if you're not praying, then your Islam is under question. Yeah, it's a very heavy thing. So I see a lot of these people. I'm not going to make takfir now of people, but I'm saying it could be the case that they're not even Muslim, and when they die, Allah gives them punishment.
You can establish that going through this method.
You could go through the whole go-round, so they'll agree very rapidly. Most of them will agree that Allah exists, God exists, yeah. But they might have forgotten that He's one. Whatever, they follow some other laws out there, or they like Hinduism, and they sort of think, yeah, he could be two or whatever. They're confused completely. So this person, treat him similar as you would give the non-Muslim dawah. So basically, brothers, yeah, go on.
So tea, inshallah. There's 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
Shall we just serve the tea?
Yeah, if you want to serve it. Can you serve it and I continue? Or?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, fine. Okay, so basically, with the thing about the quality shahada, the question that I asked all you guys, basically, it's when someone makes a statement of integrity, like a testimony in court, okay? Because the shahada is a testimony, yeah? So, making a statement of integrity, of truthfulness, like a testimony in court. That's like the quality shahada, yeah? The one who is testifying recognizes the truthfulness of the statement of faith. So they understand the truth of what they're saying, and they should understand what they're saying as well. I bear witness that none has the right to worship except for God alone, okay? And having the will to submit to your Creator, this is also what makes a quality shahada, is having the will to submit to your Creator and attempting to implement His commands. Okay, so they don't just say the words, but they've now got this urge to, I want to learn how to pray. I want to remain a Muslim. I want to go to that heaven. They've got this will to submit to Allah. Okay, and basically what they're doing is they're entering a covenant with Allah. This is a commitment to dedicate your life and worship to Him alone, and not worshipping anyone or anything else but besides Him. Also taking the Prophet as your role model of example of guidance in terms of worshipping God and living a pleasing life to God. Just stick it on that box if you don't mind, I'll let it cool down. proclaiming publicly that you have now joined the fold of Muslims, accepting all the rights and responsibilities that such implies. Now, this is all about quality. Is it okay there, Ade?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is all what the quality shahada indicates. Do you see my points, brothers? So it goes back to all of what you guys said is very important. Now, what you do next is also very important. The vision of a new Muslim becoming a strong believer and the rewards attached to it. I mean, obviously you know, if this person that's just taken shahada, if he starts praying, you're going to get the reward and he gets the reward. So sadaqah jariyah. It's the rewards you're going to get are tremendous and you don't want to lose that. So new Muslims, they can even join you in doing dawah. Yeah, it's happened here at Stratford.
Yeah.
That guy, Boston, he took shahada, he was out there the next day with a yellow t-shirt, he was giving dawah. This guy who was here yesterday, Bilal,
Yeah.
6 weeks, he's giving dawah. Who's going to get the reward? You know, that first person. Yeah, very important. Now, you know, once you've got that shahada, what should you do next? Now, one thing you want to explain to that person, everything your brother said was spot on. You want to make him your best friend, you know, you want to keep a relationship, a link with him. You don't want to lose touch with them, you want to keep them, look after them, and you want to explain to them one thing, that they've now got a 24/7 hotline, okay? Which is that link to Allah. Yeah, because at the end of the day, brothers will let brothers down. A brother might say you might say to the new Muslim, I'm going to meet you for dinner on Saturday. I'm going to take you out, I'm going to show you Islamic brotherhood, hospitality, all of that. But then something happens, a relative passes away and you can't make it on Saturday. What happened? What happened, brother? You let the Muslim down, isn't it?
Yeah,
the new Muslim, you let him down. You didn't deliberately do it. Someone in your family died and you couldn't go on Saturday for the dinner with that person. So you explain to that new Muslim that basically the 24/7 hotline, you know, a number you could ring any time, whatever. It's not quite a number, but it's like an analogy, yeah? Is Allah. Once you explain to them that you've got that link with Allah, and anything you need now and ask for, ask Allah directly. If you explain that to the new Muslim, the new shahada, this will give them happiness and they'll feel that they've always got this thing to turn to, and they'll learn who Allah is. So, the mindset that the da'i should have when getting the shahada, you know, basically it made my day, my dawah is on hold, that's my new focus. So you want to really focus on that new person. Do you understand, brothers? So you should be happy. If you get a shahada, be overjoyed, but make that person your focus from that point on, okay? So your mind should be preoccupied with how I'm going to ring him, what I'm going to say, where do I take him for dinner, who do I take with me, how do I explain, is he learning how to pray, is he getting bad influence from his family, all this should be your focus, okay? Act fast, take action as soon as possible, don't delay. This is really important with the new Muslim. Like the guy that took shahada with me yesterday, I'm not going to wait more than a few days, probably Monday, Tuesday of the week, I will ring him. Do you understand, brothers? Yeah, because I don't want him to sort of start getting problems and doubts and leaving Islam. Realise very clearly that shaitan is going to be on their case, okay? He's going to be whispering straight away, he's going to be calling them to the bad things, making them forget about Allah, all the bad things is going to be there. And you want to become a Muslim, you need to learn and take the actions of Muslims. So this person, you should pick up what the Muslims are doing, the new Muslim, you know. Learn and take actions of Muslims. So what Muslims do, you know, how they behave, this is what they should empower themselves with. You can invite them to the masjid or the mosque. If they can, invite them to come with you to the mosque straight away. So whoever takes shahada today, if we have any shahadas, ask them to come to this mosque if they're free. It's a Sunday today, not everybody's busy. Ask them to come here, they can pray with us. For the first time they can learn how to pray, or just come here and watch how the prayers are done. So this is something, if you get a shahada, it's very important. If they cannot make it to the mosque now, arrange for a meeting later, you take them to the mosque, you take them, okay?
To their mosque, the nearest mosque.
Wherever their nearest mosque is, or even a nice mosque. Say if you wanted to go to the Regent's Park on a Saturday and you made it a date, you know, a special day. Take them, go with some brothers, take them out there, treat them to dinner. Again, it's about the brotherhood. You know, what brothers have done for you when you were first practicing, or even now, you do that for them. Build a relationship with them, keep in touch, call them, meet them regularly, basically connect with them and teach them to establishing their connection with Allah. You know, and what are they doing? By accepting Islam, you're becoming a servant of Allah. Explain this, you know, you'll never be alone as long as you turn to Him. I'll explain this about the hotline. You know, the brothers can't always be there, so you've got Allah. And then explain what Allah expects from them. You know, that you do turn to Him, that you are sincere to Him. You try your best to live your life in a way that pleases Him. No one is perfect, we all have shortcomings. The essential thing is that you always turn back to Him and ask for forgiveness, and the door of forgiveness will always be open for you, so turn to Him. Ask them, you know, they can make dua, the concept of dua and worship, how they can get things now. If the dua's not answered, explain to them that this is God giving you perhaps the next life. He's going to store it up and give you the paradise. So you might not get the £1 million now. Because you can ask the non-Muslim and say, okay, you're saying make dua, I'm going to wish for £1 million to appear in front of me now. And then he might ask you, why didn't it appear if God exists? He's one, he went through the whole go-round, yeah? But you explain to them, no, because God is, he's answering it, but he's giving you the next life, which is going to be the ultimate, best reward. Okay?
You don't need money in the next life.
No, you don't. That's the thing, you know, it's eternal bliss.
Yeah.
So, capturing the data, entering into the new Muslim. Now, what you've got to do, brothers, all of you pay very strict attention, but if you get a Shahada today, okay, you want to capture some very important details from the new Muslim. So you want to get their full name, get their address, full address, and get their mobile and email. You know, the main contact points. Write this, if you've got a smartphone, yeah, just stick it into your smartphone, yeah. If you've got paper, pen and paper, just put it on pen and paper. Whatever you feel that you know, whatever method you want to use, you just use that which works. But do capture the data very clearly. So a lot of people get nervous, you know, they're like excited, is Shahada, he's just become Muslim, and they put in the telephone number wrong or whatever they do. If you've got the bare minimum, that you just went to your phone and you put in their name and their number, then you've done enough. Don't panic too much about the address, because you can ring them later and get the address. Do you understand, brothers? Yeah? So this is very important. I don't want to hear anybody today that they got a Shahada and they don't have any details. That's like, there's one exception to that the person might say, I don't want to give my details. This does happen. There's like an elderly guy that took Shahada and he felt a bit nervous. He thought, who are these guys with beards? Why are they asking me for my address? They might come and rob my house or something, yeah? People are very, you know, society...
Because it happens.
Yeah, it happens. This is a society that people are now, with all the problems that's happening in society, crimes increasing, you know, things are going downhill, right? So people get nervous and scared. So really, with that person, the best thing to do is don't force the details out of them, respect their wishes, say to them, look, did you know your local mosque is here, Manor Park, yeah? And you give them the address, and you're welcome there anytime now as a new Muslim. Yeah, you can get a Quran from there, you can read a Quran, you can learn how to do wudu, prayers, you can join the Muslims there. So you give them that link, okay? But that is like 1 in 1,000. You know that one that doesn't want to give his details? He's 1 in 1,000, I'd say. And some people are doing it because they're not sincere. So sometimes their true colours come out at the end. They took Shahada or whatever, they're not sincere. So very important, get their details. And then what we do in IERA is basically we provide them with a pack. I haven't bought it here, but there's like a special gift box that we've got. It's a very big box like this, and it contains a lot of great things in it. Like it's got the full Quran in English, yeah? It's got How to Pray DVD. The what, sorry?
And the book, How to Pray.
Yeah, How to Pray book as well, yeah. There's the DVD and the book. There's the 40 Hadith Nawawi, the Dawah book, Hisn al-Muslim, the little Dawah book. Allah's names, all a thick hardback book with all the names of Allah, beautiful names. Very good book to get them to link with Allah. And there's something else, the Seerah book, the Seerah of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So there's about 7 to 10 items in this pack, in this gift box that they'll get, and that's all they need to get started in their path on Islam. That's the main thing, the link. And I think that's mainly all the points. It's just a little bit here about. I don't have enough time. I need to hand over to follow up with the new Muslim. Yeah, but just remember, brothers, that it's your personal responsibility. Once that person's taken Shahada, don't imagine there's this big organisation, IERA, and they'll do all the work after that. It doesn't work like that. It's up to you. So if it's Fred Smith and he's taken Shahada just 2 streets away, you've become like his father now. You've got to check he's okay. You check on him. You see, don't leave it to the next person. Don't think he became Muslim, I'm sure the other brothers in the mosque are looking after him. It's not the case. He might not ever come to the mosque. So you need to check, you need to ring him. Are you okay, Brother Fred? How are you finding Islam? Do you need anything from me? Do you want me to teach you how to pray? You're going to get reward for all this extra work that you do. You'll get the ajr. Imagine you teach him how to make wudu. Every time he makes wudu, you're going to get the reward for that wudu. He'll get the reward for wudu and you'll get it as well. So don't feel shy or, be very enthusiastic and run to get these extra rewards. So you understood, brothers, that new Muslim is like, I can't emphasize it enough. The Shahada is the easy part. Really easy, You can even get cases where somebody will come to the table and they'll say, I want to become a Muslim. You didn't even do the go-rap. They're coming to you. It happened in the Olympics when IERA came here and we were again at Stratford. There was 500 of us dotted around the city, yeah? And a lady came to the brothers and she said, before anybody said anything about Islam, she said, I want to become a Muslim. How do I become a Muslim? Do you understand? There's people out there. the kuffar, they're lost, yeah? Some of them are really genuinely researching and searching for this truth. They're reading about Islam. They're not believing everything on the television. They're seeing through the holes. Do you understand, brothers? Yes,
Was
brother.
that, I was homeless like 12 weeks ago. I believe there was one God.
Yes.
And when I was speaking to the brother Imran, is it Imran? Imran, yeah. Like I turned around and said to him, like, look, I believe there's one God. He's come down in different forms and people took it upon themselves, yeah, right, to create like religions to have power over people, yeah, what couldn't read and write at the time. Right, and I said, God comes down and like he's had sent loads of people what sent message and all that. I believe that.
Yeah.
And I turned around and said, when I done my shahada with him,
Yeah.
like he turned around and said like, well, if you believe in all this, yeah, why don't you become a Muslim? Like, and I turned around and said to him, well, I already know about the religion. Like, because I grew up in Stockport and all my friends were Muslims, so I already knew about Jesus and the Quran and everything.
Yeah.
Like, and then he said to me, why don't you just take shahada with me then? So that's what I did.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
I haven't looked back since.
Really? That's
Yeah.
amazing, brother. Are you being looked after, would you say?
Yeah, these brothers look after me.
Yeah,
bruv,
mashallah, that's the most important thing. I'm checking, see, I'm putting into practice what this course is saying. I have to know that you're being looked after and stuff like that, brother, because a lot will flake out, you know, there's a burnout, but stick with it, brother, do you know what I mean? Because I've been practicing for about 20 years now, okay? I wasn't always practicing, but I've noticed one thing in those 20 years, the more the time goes on, the better it becomes. There is harder tests, but the reward is greater at the end, and that's Allah guiding you, helping you, because we're just getting closer to Jannah, inshallah. So stick with it, because in 6-12 weeks, you might get a certain picture in your head, but in 12 years down the line, you will be tested very hard or whatever. But when you're patient, then you get a bigger reward at the end. You feel much more happy. You're even more, alhamdulillah, I'm blessed to be guided. And then you see other people how they are, you know, on the streets or whatever. I think we need to stop.
Yeah, we have to finish it.
Cool.
But before we go,
Yeah.
Can you ask brothers who are joining today
Yes.
after the salah?
Yeah.
Then we can take the names and then we can make arrangements how we are
Have you
getting
got
out.
pen and paper?
Yeah, we got brothers. So if
Okay.
you can take who are they joining today? you
Yeah.
can make
Okay,
it.
brothers. So who would like to join us today to go to Stratford? Inshallah, even if you spend 1 hour, half an hour, but we're going to be there till Maghrib. You can spend whatever time you've got in your calendar. Yeah. I'm not going to force anyone. I'm saying come and do the dawah there. Support the brothers. You know, it's not about shahadas. It's about you doing dawah, conveying that message. Yeah, and Allah will reward you for just those actions. So we'll get a little quick list of names. Yeah. The prayers.
They can put their hands up.
Yeah, put your hands up, brothers, and brother Ikram, he's got pen and paper. Yeah, come, brother. Even if it's 20 minutes, I don't care. You know, you hand out 2 of these cards. That someone might go home and take shahada.
1, 2, 3, 4,
That should be it.
No, I don't do cameras.
7, 8, 9,
Yeah.
10.
Don't
10
do
people,
cameras
okay.
and I don't do
Okay, brothers, so what we'll do, just to quickly recap, because
I think
Salah is
we're
coming
spied
in,
on enough.
I think Adhan needs to be called. Basically, what we'll do, after Dhuhr, we're going to pray our Dhuhr 12:45, there'll be a little bit of a break period, yeah?
1:30.
Like about an hour. So from about 1 to 1:30, if you want to get lunch here, do whatever you need to do, see your families, whatever you need to do that. And then at 1:30, we're going to leave from here. If anybody needs a lift with me, I've got 2 places in my car. If anyone wants to get down to the Westfields, I've got 2 places, yeah? If anyone's got a car, just get the other 10 to share, yeah? Otherwise, make your way to Westfield to be there for around about 2ish, and we'll start from there, inshallah. I think, Hajar, we can hand out the materials there. isn't
No,
it?
yeah, inshallah. Yeah.
So I can take that bag that I gave you, I'll put it in my car, and I will distribute it.
No problem, inshallah.
Alright,
Jazakallah.
that's cool, yeah?
Okay.
Finished?
Yeah.
Alright, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala
Subhanakallah.